it can be so hard to understand financial language, especially when you're trying to hire a financial advisor. In today's episode of Friends Talk Financial Planning, we're going to dig into one specific language thing, and that is the idea of fee only versus fee-based advice. Hi, I'm John Shear, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
I'm Bridget Sullivan-Mermel, and I've got a Feeonly financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. Hey, John, before we start, let's remind everybody to subscribe. It helps us get some credibility with YouTube, and it helps you get notified when we've got more episodes. So if you hit subscribe, it helps us out a lot. Okay, John, now let's go on to the definitions of fee only and fee based.
It's something, Bridget, that it almost seems like, and probably not almost, that the financial world makes it intentionally confusing. And I think that this is really one of those places, because it sounds the same. Listen, I've got a fee only, I got a fee-based advisor, right? And the implication is, listen, I want to pay a fee to get advice, not be sold something, right? Like that's sort of the idea that people get. But there's a really clear difference. That one word difference is really significant. Fee only means that the only compensation the advisor gets is from a fee. They pay directly. That means they don't sell investments, insurance, annuities, anything else, mortgages. Fee-based sounds similar. We do charge a fee, but it's fee-based, meaning that we charge a fee, but then we also can sell investments or annuities or insurance or other places. And that's the thing that's that really key difference. Fee only, no sales at all. Fee-based, a fee, but then also the potential for pretty significant sales. And I know, Bridget, when you were starting, before you became an advisor, you had some personal experience with trying to identify like how to get advice and how to find somebody that's not trying to sell you things. And share. I know you've told me the story. Share what your experience was.
I was a CPA, and I'd had an investments class, and I had was interested in personal finance, but I knew that I could use some extra help. Like you get to a point maybe when you've got 100 grand, maybe 100 and maybe two. You get to some point where you're beyond.
Hey, I need more.
That some advice will help you.
Yeah.
And so I went to a large outfit that everybody knows their name. And I had decent feelings toward this organization. And they said they offered free financial planning with period. You didn't have to do anything. Okay. But I did have to give them all my information. Okay. So I gave them, all my information and then said, what are your recommendations? And they gave me their recommendations. Beforehand, I said, well, you recommend everything, not just your products, correct? And they said, oh yeah, we just recommend the best products or the best mutual funds. And so then when I actually got the recommendations, 4 out of 5 were their mutual funds. And then the 5th one was a bond fund that they said made 20%, which is a red flag. You want bonds to be safe. You don't want bonds to be making 20% last year. So I was like, this has no credibility. They didn't do what they said they did. Come to find out, when I look at it now, it's like they are making all their money in their fees for their mutual funds that they're recommending. And now that I understand the industry better, I've talked to people that have worked for this place, and they will say that their advisor are only paid by salary, and they don't make a commission. But that, according to everybody that works there, they just get a very low salary, and then they have everything be paid out in bonuses, which is totally based on what they sell. And so that was my experience. It really turned me off. And that this actual outfit didn't specify at the time, or I didn't know to ask if it was fee only or fee based. But I got sucked into the free.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And as I'm hearing that story, and we both know people at that firm are like, oh yeah, it's a bonus, not a commission, right? Like, what's the difference in that language? And it strikes me that it's follow the money, right? Like, where is your money going? Who's on your side? And I've got an example from somebody who's a local advisor here that I've known through financial planning groups and various things. I've got clients that have worked with this outfit, and they would say like, geez, I give people a choice, they can pay a fee or they can get work on a commission basis, and everybody chooses the commission basis. We're fee based, but nobody chooses the fee side. Well, I know that their hourly rate was really low, like $75 an hour. I mean, less than you take your mechanic. And then they'd say, well, listen, we give our people a choice. And the language, actually, I asked the client, well, it would be, you can pay this fee or you can invest this other way and you don't have to pay anything. The company pays me, the insurance company, the mutual fund company. Well, geez, knowing what we know in the world, if you take your $100,000 and invest with them, he makes $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 for making that sale. How many hours is that at $75 an hour? So it was, geez, I give people a choice and I can choose this thing. And I'm fee based. So it sounds like I'm being objective. And yet nobody knows what you're actually paying underneath the hood of those things, right? So if people knew about, geez, you could pay me $3,000 to make this investment or $75 an hour for 10 hours,
Right.
which one would people choose, right? It's just follow the money sort of thing. And that's that key of where fee based, boy, it sounds like I'm getting that, fee for advice, but fee only is really the one that people want, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think that the marketing people that came up with fee-based actually probably did it to confuse people. That's what I've concluded. Maybe I'm just cynical, but that's what I've concluded. And I think that Feeonly is the way to go. And I think it's what consumers want, but that they struggle because just like me, they want free too. So
Right.
when anybody says this is how much it costs, or you can have it for free, well, I don't know. I think it's human nature to, there's part of us that want it for free.
And as I said, follow the money before, but of course, that nothing is free, right? Like logically, we know nothing is free, right?
Right.
But it's that appeal of those things, and that's what I think we need to be careful of. And that difference of, if it's important to you that you're getting, if somebody says, hey, you should buy this insurance or make this investment, well, of course, if they make more money for one than for the other, you might want to know that, right? So to be asking those, and the way, and of course, we both operate on a fee only basis, but by finding somebody who has that fee only approach to things, that there's not going to be any sales incentive, right? That you eliminate that. And that is, I think, the one thing that if I was to say, what's the one takeaway, would be fee only is very different than fee based. Not that not that you get better advice necessarily, but just knowing where your money is going and knowing the potential biases is really huge. And that only, as opposed to based, when it comes to paying fees for your financial advice, that can be a really critical thing as you make a decision on how to get advice.
Right. And so with Feeonly, we're trying to minimize conflict of interest.
Yep, that's
That's
great.
my takeaway for this. All right. So with that, let's wrap it up. I'm Bridget Sullivan-Ramal. I've got a Feeonly financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. We also like to mention ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. It's a Feeonly financial planning organization that John and I both belong to. It's not for profit, but if you like how we talk and think about things, and you're looking for an advisor in your area, you can check out acplanners.org.
And last, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to help other people find information like this. And until next time, Bridget.
Thanks, John.